Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Terwilligar, and this is Julie Clarke. Um, and we just wanted to put a little video together to explain more about our eating disorder caregiver coaching group that we're starting on April 3rd. So I'm just going to start off by introducing myself. Again, I'm Sarah, and my background is in nursing. I've been a nurse since 2009. And been a mental health nurse with youth and their families who are struggling with an eating disorder since 2010. With that, I've worked with within the eating disorder inpatient unit, within a hospital, the outpatient unit, and our clinics for families and youth who have gone home and are just coming in to have checkups. And then aside from that, I've also worked within our mental health or adolescent mental health programs there as well. And then I went back to school and finished my master's, and I'm now a registered psychotherapist, and I'm now doing some private practice work, and on the side work for a nonprofit organization, and I'm doing work like this.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
And hi to everyone as well. I'm Julie, and Sarah and I actually know each other. We work together in the eating disorder and mental health units at a regional children's hospital in our local area. That's how you and I first met, and we've known each other for maybe since 2012.
Yeah, about there. Yeah.
And so I'm not a nurse, and I don't practice anything medical related the way that Sarah does, but I worked as a child and youth counselor at the Regional Children's Hospital in the eating disorder inpatient and outpatient program. So a bit of a different supportive role than Sarah would have done. I too also have my master's degree and am a registered psychotherapist. I do mostly private practice now, and work with children and adults. And I'm so excited that we're doing this group. I think, Sarah, you'll agree that through conversations, you and I realized that there was a real gap in services. And so that's what started and sparked the conversation between us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, I think it's important just to share kind of why we started to do this group and that gap in healthcare and that there's not a lot of support services for caregivers of youth or, any individual who has an eating disorder out there. And I, even when I was learning, I felt like there weren't a lot of resources available. And I think it's like where I'm coming from is I feel that once you have a really good understanding of the eating disorder, that's when you can really apply yourself in all situations. You know what to say, you know how to respond. And so when I first started, I didn't know what to say, and I didn't know how to approach anyone with an eating disorder, and I learned. And once I really understood the eating disorder, that's when I felt that I could go in and handle these situations. And so what I feel like's missing is parents and caregivers don't understand. They don't really get what is going on inside of the person that they love's head. And so once you understand, then you can come from a place of empathy, and you can set boundaries. You know what to say and what to do in those situations. And I think that's where there's a huge gap, as well as information. But there's a lot of books, and they kind of explain, there's a lot of resources online that just kind of say, this is what anorexia is, this is what bulimia is, but they don't really get to what's deep inside and what they're really dealing with. And I think that that's the part that's missing. And so that's where I personally really want to help others get in there and understand, so then they can apply it.
Well, and I think also it's so important for parents and caregivers to know that there's nothing that they've done that anyone is posing blame on them, that this their fault, that they caused the eating disorder, and to sort of toss that myth out the window, but also to empower parents and caregivers to know that they actually already have the skills, which is just loving and nurturing their young person, but to empower them to access information specific to treatment. Like you say, there's books and resources and information on what anorexia is, but the getting into the treatment side of it, there's that big gap, right? So unless the child or youth is really medically unstable, there's this gap of, well, where do I go for services? And if you live in a community that has a bigger population, where there's maybe an agency or a not-for-profit that focuses on eating disorders, okay, so maybe you're able to access that. But I also want to just jump in there and say that the reason that we're offering this from a virtual perspective is to reach a bigger audience, so that we don't create these obstacles around programs that are just not available. Because as you know, Sarah, that eating disorders, there's a high mortality rate with this mental illness, and it's really unfortunate that it has to get that extreme. And I have always worked from a proactive lens, and I really want to help families so that it doesn't get to that extreme. And by empowering parents through I don't think we mentioned the model, the family-based therapy model is what we're utilizing in this coaching program. And it's about empowering parents and caregivers to realize their strengths and to realize that they do have the skills to really be able to support their loved one. And then we just are there alongside them, trying to give them the tools and the language, right? The language is a big part of this as well, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it is really important to touch on, both of us are trained in family-based therapy. That's where we really focus on and practice from at the hospital. And it is the number one, and it's the most effective treatment for youth. And it's a very respectful, really empowering treatment model to come from. But I think, it's important to just let everybody know that we're not doing family-based therapy. We're just coming from a place of that knowledge and helping you, empowering you and helping you to understand. It's not therapy. This is coaching. And by doing that, we can really help you, provide you with education that we feel that parents and caregivers need to then go home and apply it to their everyday life.
And it's like I say, because of our training as psychotherapists, it's really important to differentiate that this coaching program, this group gathering, is not as in-depth as therapy. And we know, even just working on the units, that there were separate pieces to that, where the patients and their families would go off to other professionals to do that really in-depth work. And we really just want to sort of provide that information, that my hope is that families can benefit from the knowledge that we'll share, the conversations that we'll have, and then based on where they live geographically, they'll begin to realize where they need to link into, where they need to seek out additional help and guidance for their unique situation. So yeah, I think that's really important for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's important for everyone to know eating disorders, like, you can fully recover from an eating disorder, and parents and caregivers are their best ally. So, I think a lot of times families, caregivers, they feel helpless. They feel like other people, other professionals are the answer. But the research shows that families actually are the best ally, and they are the key to recovery for a young person. So that's why, coming into this group, I personally feel like it's, both of our knowledges combined into 8 sessions. So for the first 6 weeks, 1 hour a week, and then 2 weeks off the 7th one, 2 weeks off the 8th one. And we've done that so that it gives you some transition time to apply what you're learning and then come back into the group. But yeah, I feel like this is like we're kind of bringing in our knowledge and kind of giving it away, so that you, like all the people who are involved in the group, really get a sense of what we know, and then can use that at home.
And I think doing groups in therapy has always been one of my favorite things. So just taking sort of the basics of the setup of each of those and applying it to this group coaching program. I just want to kind of put it out there to those who are watching and who are interested in this. There's a sense of, I don't know if normalizing is the right term, but there's a sense of sort of cohesion and togetherness that sometimes when you're dealing with really difficult and complex mental illness, you can feel very isolated. And so that isn't helpful, in supporting. And we want to be able to kind of bring a group together in a facilitated way. But also, I feel like this is a good time to mention as well that the eating disorder caregiving coaching group that we're offering to you all is an investment. There is a cost related to that. We'll be posting the website links and everything down below. JulieClarkeTherapy.com. So that's JulieClarke therapy.com is the website. There will be a contact form there for people to fill in. And this is the type of group coaching program that Sarah and I will have to review the applications and assess for appropriateness for the group, for a number of reasons, right, Sarah? Just to make sure that it's a suitable program for what the presenting issues are, and to be able to just assess the suitability and the appropriateness for the individuals to join the group.
Yeah, we really want to make sure that it's going to be the best fit. We don't want you to be in the group and if this isn't where you really need to be, if we don't feel like it will be helpful for your situation, we don't want you to, be in the group, and we'd rather direct you to resources that will most benefit you. And I think that that's really important for your care, because we really do care about the outcome. We want people to be successful, and we know how dangerous eating disorders can be and how fast they sneak up on people. So that's really where we're coming from, a place of wanting it to be the best service for you. So yeah, there's an application form. We'll review that. And if you are a fit, then we'll send you a registration form. And if not, then we'll send you some other resources in your area to connect you with. Yeah.
And so just to recap, this initial group starts on April 3rd, 2018. Mm-hmm. We're planning to meet virtually online through Zoom technology for 60 minutes once per week for 6 weeks. And then, like Sarah said, we're going to have 2 booster sessions. So there's space in between where we skip a week and then we have a session, skip a week, have another session, and to allow for integration. And so there's that. And then there's some other technicalities that we can get into once the actual application process has been approved.
And the other thing we actually forgot to mention is on top of that, we're going to do the one-on-one 16-minute or 15-minute, 60-minute little individual session, so we can really make sure that we're getting your needs. So sometime within the 10-week span, you can book that session with us, and we'll meet together and help make sure that we really understand your situation so we can best help you.
And I just remembered, Sarah, one thing that we really wanted to point out to people was the caregiver aspect. And so the investment to our program, what we're encouraging families to do is if there is a grandparent, an aunt, an uncle, a really close friend, if there's other supports within your family circle that would benefit from the knowledge from this group, we're asking you to include them in the weekly sessions all for the price of one person.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not really one person, I guess. It's just one session, one coaching session fee. So it's really beneficial to have multiple supportive family members be able to learn that common language and that information about the eating disorder. But we're not charging extra for additional people, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the best things about this group, because we're not just offering services for, like one person. We realize that families these days they may have multiple caregivers. There may be, a stepmom, a dad, a stepdad, a mom, and we encourage everyone who's caring for that one individual to join the group, to participate and really get a lot out of it. And I think that is the biggest benefit to this group. We want everyone to be there. We want to teach the family as a unit, and not just one person, because when one person has that knowledge, then it's up to them to then spread it to all the other caregivers, whereas we want all the caregivers to learn from the same place.
And learn that common language.
Yeah.
We went on a little bit longer than we had planned. Sorry, everyone, but if you're still watching, I wanted to just end with, Sarah, what has been something that for you as a professional working with eating disorders with a really unwell population, what has been some of the things that you've really enjoyed over the years in your work?
Well, I really enjoy this work. I think it's something that I stumbled into, wasn't really planning to work in this field, and got into it and just fell in love with the kids and their families. And I think one of the things I love the most is watching parents learn what to do and then feel confident in doing it themselves. I think it's one of the, like, for me as a professional, I feel so empowered myself watching other family members, be able to stand up to the eating disorder, be able to, no, I got this. It's, you know what, I can handle this situation. And that's one of my favorite things.
So, and for me, it's the same. So working with a really unwell population and seeing the really complicated and complex challenges that on the severe end of the spectrum that eating disorders can get to, but watching as recovery, recovery, and that's the other thing, recovery from an eating disorder is possible. It's so important for people to know that, right? Because it's such a complex disorder that it can be all encompassing and extremely overwhelming for all involved. And so, we're here to say that recovery is possible. We've seen it. We've enjoyed working with the families through that journey and supporting them and being able to see how things come out on the other side. And it's just been a real tremendous, professional satisfaction that comes with doing this work, for sure.
Watching the kids get better. Yeah. Well, I think that's all we really wanted to share with everyone. We want to encourage anyone, if you have questions, if there's something you don't understand, reach out to us, send us an email. We would love to have your questions and your inquiries, and we're here to answer them.
And the email address, are you going to link?
Yeah, we'll provide it. We'll provide it down below.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Bye. Bye, Julie.